God created man on the sixth day in his image and likeness to be master of everything on earth. We recall that God instructed the first man, Adam, not to eat of the tree of knowledge, otherwise he would die. Now Satan, one of the angels that rebelled against heaven and remained in the darkness, maliciously intended to lure the man into the darkness with him and away from the possibility of being a part of the church triumphant. Satan failed his test to prove his fidelity to God and decided to drag man down along with him. This is the first record in the Bible when we see the evil one scatter what God was about to gather. Remember that Jesus said that he who does not gather with him scatters. This means that every time we do not gather with the Lord, we help the devil in his mission of wickedness. Before the fall of man, God instructed Adam not to eat the fruit from the tree of good and evil. We are not told why, but I guess that it was not time. Perhaps later he would have permitted them to do so. I believe that the fact that the tree was even in the garden, there would have come a time when God would decide that Adam and Eve were ready to eat its fruits, but before then they had to carry on under his guidance. We can see this in our daily lives when we indulge in certain things too soon before we gain the proper knowledge and understanding that would make us wise enough to discern the right path for our purpose in life. All who have jumped the gun before learning the preliminaries always find themselves in a fix. Perhaps this was why God instructed them not to eat the fruit yet, because if we are honest with one another, despite the knowledge we have about good and evil in this world, we have mostly not always applied it to our benefit, mainly because we choose to apply it our way, just like Adam and Eve did, when they trusted the serpent instead of God. We know the right thing to do, but choose evil to serve our selfish desires, which cause pain towards ourselves and others, even to the point of causing death. But anyway, Adam and Eve's disobedience led to death becoming a part of man's existence. This was not in God's plan. The people who condemn parents who correct their children, and those who complain about God punishing Adam and Eve, are people helping in the devil's mission to scatter what God is gathering. People like this are beginning to increase in number within the church. The wages of sin is death. Every sin committed has consequences. This phenomenon did not end after Adam and Eve were sent outside the garden for sinning. When God corrects us through whatever painful means, it is essential for detaching us from the sin for which these consequences are suffered. Whoever spares the rod hates their children, but the one who loves their children is careful to discipline them. Therefore, upright citizens are usually disciplined because they were corrected during their formative years. This is good for the disciplined as well as for the society. Parents who genuinely love their children and want them to be successful in society discipline them. Those who usually are a nuisance to society were likely not disciplined, and their errors were never corrected, or they never accepted corrections and chose to remain in error. They want things their way and blame everyone else for their errors. Does this sound familiar with what happened in the garden? Parents who don't discipline their children do their children and society a disservice. This should help us understand why God, being the loving Father He is, begins assigning punishments to all guilty parties. We need to understand that we cannot usurp the punishments upon us. Doing so only creates a situation where we complicate the consequences associated with our punishments. The man must till the soil for his food until he dies. This is not the punishment for the woman. It is for the man. That is why the burden falls on the man to feed his family and take care of them. It is not the woman's job to do that. The woman must suffer the pains of childbirth with every child she carries and gives birth to. This is the punishment for the woman, not the man. This is why there's usually always a strong bond between mother and child, and she intuitively knows better how to nurture life, keep the home, and take what the man works to offer her to sustain life. The devil will always bite the dust when we do this. The devil, being the enemy, still tries to meddle in the affairs of God and makes us still try to go against God as he did. For instance, after making man disobey God by eating the fruit, he tries to make man disobey God by evading or even trying to escape our punishments. These days, many men do not want to work to earn their keep. Many women either want to use surrogate mothers to bear children or artificially grow their children in the lab. Also, they don't alter their physique from being pregnant, and perhaps also to avoid the pains of childbearing. The devil probably anticipates that he can one-up God by doing this and not bite the dust consistently. The problem is that when we try to avoid our punishments, we bring more chaos into our lives and worsen our situation. This will explain why the devil tries to repeat what he had done in the garden with the man by scattering once again the knowledge of our punishments, by trying to get us to either usurp each other's punishments or evade them altogether. After the fall, the devil got man to cut himself from God's grace and from being part of the church triumphant. Man failed his test. God, in his loving mercy, while stating to each the consequences for their disobedience, interweaved the remedy to the problem the devil had just created. But this would take so many millennia to come to fruition. The pronouncement of this remedy while God was describing each person's punishment is so subtle that at face value, it is not noticed. So, what is this remedy exactly? When God asked the man if he disobeyed him and ate the fruit, the man blamed the woman God had given to him as a wife. In a way, we could say that the man blamed God indirectly for giving him the woman who led him astray. It would seem like he was avoiding taking accounts for his action, that he was getting along fine in the garden before God brought the woman who had to ruin everything. Perhaps. So, Adam did not want to be accountable for failing to look after the garden and for failing to look after his wife. As a result, his punishment comes about in contrast to what he did. He did not prevent his wife from eating the fruit from the tree of knowledge. This tree was part of his responsibility, like everything else in the garden. Since he did not work, he will now have to work very hard to get the soil to produce anything. When God asked the woman why she disobeyed, she blamed the serpent, claiming it tricked her. She also was trying to avoid being accountable for her actions. She failed to be helpful to her husband, but instead propagated his downfall, leading to his death and hers. As a result, her punishment comes about in contrast to what she did. She was not her husband's helper, usurped his role, and disobeyed God. Since her action was the instigator of death coming into the world, she will bring forth life in pain. Despite this, she will still desire her husband and go through this process again. She made her husband be subject to her and made him eat the fruits. She will be subject to him as she's supposed to, so he will be the leader he was originally created to be. We can say then, in conclusion, that the remedy for the man's failure to carry out a simple task to maintain harmony that led to chaos, he will now have to carry out difficult tasks to restore harmony and dispel chaos. The remedy for the woman not being an effective helper, but listening to the enemy and opening the doors to death. She will bring forth life in pain and be a helper to her husband to sustain life. In other words, regardless of the pain to bring forth life instead of death, she will still desire her husband and be subject to him and not the enemy. Now, in this lies a gem to longevity in marriage and why the man must be the head and the woman follow his lead. This will be revisited in a future chapter in this series. As for the enemy, God did not ask the serpent questions. The devil already sealed his fate when he rebelled. He was already eating dust, but he now has another layer to his punishment for causing the fall of another species, which we should be mindful of. This is what will spark the need for the creation of a type of church. A church that will make it possible for man to be part of the church triumphant eventually. This will be the church militant. And this is when the remedy is foreshadowed. Through these pronouncements, God was stirring a reversal of the devil's attack into motion. He told the serpent, "I will make you and the woman hate each other. Her offspring and yours will always hate each other. Her offspring will crush your head, and you will bite her offspring's heel." It's rather interesting that the Bible that traces all offspring through the fathers traces them only in this chapter through the mother. This implies that the offspring here referred to doesn't come directly from the man's loins, but from the woman. But an offspring comes from both a man and a woman, you would say. Within the woman's womb is where an offspring dwells for the first stages of development in life. Unfortunately, this man and this woman have fallen from grace, are now plagued with sin and death. The seed from the man, stained with sin and death, fertilizes the woman's ovum, plagued with sin and death. Their offspring from their union is formed in sin and death. So it carries on. To end that cycle, the Lord plans for a new woman who will be free from sin and death. Through her, a new man will come who will be free of sin and death and will destroy the enemy's work, restore mankind to God, and bring about a new creation. This will be the means through which the chaos will be dispelled and harmony restored. But as expected, the ancient enemy will continue to try to scatter what the Lord is gathering. In a video after this, we shall explore further the foreshadowing of the offspring, who will crush the head of the serpent and bring about the new creation.